Welcome back to General Mission Podcast with John and Tim. We are here on, February 4th,
February
Sunday.
4th.
I think this is our first official remote episode that you and I have not been in studio together for,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I miss you.
I know.
There's a
It doesn't,
big empty chair on the other side of the room. It's not even in your
yeah,
spot anymore.
yeah, it's in the corner.
Yeah, it's been relocated.
Yeah, so this is different, but sometimes life gets in the way, but we keep trucking, we keep moving on.
Yep, we'll make it work.
Yeah, well, we had a big week in the sports world, not for the typical sports fan, but in terms of events that have happened in my lifetime over the last 20 years, I would say this news of Hamilton switching to Ferrari and F1 is up there with some of the biggest sports news that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
agree?
yeah, absolutely. I compare it to, I don't know, Jordan retirement and then coming
Yep.
back,
Yep.
Jordan playing baseball, LeBron
Yeah.
switching teams, that kind of thing. It's,
LeBron's the one I thought was closest because when he switched teams, he was still in his prime. Where Jordan, when he
hmm
left for the Wizards, was already known to be done. He had already won his 6 championships or whatever.
right.
This is still a guy, I mean, technically not in his prime, but
But
I mean,
extremely
he is in his prime.
competitive.
Yeah. And he's switching to the arguably the most iconic team that there is. But
hmm
if you had asked me 2 weeks ago if Hamilton was ever going to leave Mercedes, it would have been a resounding no,
Never.
like no shot.
Yep.
So what happened?
I,
What the hell happened?
I don't know. I mean, I think, ever since he was a kid, it was probably a dream to drive for Ferrari, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put on the red. That's probably what every aspiring go-kart kid, someone with Formula One aspirations, for me being a fan for the last 10 years solid, 20 years
Yeah.
on and off, for me it's probably Mercedes or McLaren.
Yep.
That would be my top teams.
Sure.
But that's because I kind of like grew up watching them. Whereas somebody more into the sport definitely would have focused on Ferrari more.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, they're the oldest team, right? They've been there
yeah.
since the onset of F1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what is Williams maybe the only other team that was Williams
Yeah.
even there in the initial
Uh,
inaugural season of F1? I don't even know if
I
they
don't
were.
know. I mean,
So
there were
Ferrari,
a bunch of other teams in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that were long-time teams
yeah,
that just aren't around anymore.
right, yeah, and we'll get into it, but I've heard rumors that Mercedes within 5 years will not be a team.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yikes.
I mean, obviously this week has brought on a lot of speculation, a lot of uh, drama in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of what's happening and how it's going to flip the sport on its ear. And to me, it just shows you the sheer star power of a Lewis Hamilton,
Yep.
where you could say all you want, like nobody's bigger than the sport. This is a case where I think this dude is bigger than the sport.
Yeah.
And just the sheer fact that Ferrari was willing to do whatever it took to get this guy
Mm-hmm.
to be part of their team, and they're willing to fully assist and support all his endeavors, which to this point Mercedes has always done. But it sounds like Mercedes has reached their line with that. Like, and not that it was a bad thing, but I think I don't know if I'm reading it wrong. It seems like Mercedes was just to a point. This isn't Total Wolf. This is the shareholders, whatever. Just wanted to go in a different direction after this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they maybe had a mind to want to get younger. And as we've learned more about how this week has transpired, it's starting to make a lot of sense for both sides. And I think it ultimately is going to be a good move for Hamilton. And I think, honestly, ultimately, I think it's going to be a good move for Mercedes. But where they go from here is going to be probably what sets that trajectory in place, right? Like, there's
Right.
a lot of different ways they can go here.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which way they're going to look at it
I
from.
mean, I'm loving the memes and the rumors, to be
Yeah.
honest. Just today
It's,
I saw like 15 different people reported
yeah.
as memes, but like 15 different people reported to be the next Mercedes driver.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
Gun-
silly season.
Gunther Steiner is the next
Yeah.
driver for Mercedes.
Right.
Roscoe,
Right.
Hamilton's
Yeah.
dog, is the next
Yep.
driver for
Roman
Mercedes.
Grosjean. He
Grosjean
even posted
is the
himself
next.
wearing the Mercedes uniform
I
when he
saw
was
that.
like
Yeah, I like that. And
yeah,
I
he's great.
like when these professionals or retired professional, ex-professional, whatever, when they get in on the fun,
Yeah.
right? I also saw the official Mercedes AMG F1 account post the morning after the announcement,
Yeah.
post like Google Translate,
Hmm.
and it showed hello team or good morning team or something, and it
Yeah.
was English to Italian. So
That's yeah.
that was
Yeah.
interesting. Like,
Yeah.
is somebody behind the Instagram account going with him to Ferrari? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's the thing too about this whole move. It sounds like there's going to be quite a few people from Mercedes that are following
Mm-hmm.
Lewis there. Whether Bono does or not, like that's the one that I think is pretty important, but maybe I don't know because Lewis has a relationship with Vassar,
Mm-hmm.
the team principal for Ferrari. I think he'll be okay either way, but I would really feel a lot better if his what's the term for that for Bono? It's not team principal, but it's like his director or whatever, the race director.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's important. He has a relationship with that guy, and it's a very comfortable relationship. And the other thing to consider is most of the people that work for Ferrari are Italian speaking. Hamilton doesn't speak Italian.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his comfort zone with Mercedes because one, the tenure he's had there, but also just the fact that it's just people who speak the same language as him. Now he's going to a totally different world.
Right.
I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But I also don't think I think he's very calculated and he's thought about all this and he's thought about what this transition is going to mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's fully going into it understanding that it's going to be a challenge, but I think he thrives on that. Like I really think that
Yeah.
that's what's motivating him.
Do you think he's going to do one and done, one season and retire and just say that he drove for Ferrari
No, because I
or a
think he
couple
could have done
years?
that with Mercedes. They basically were only giving him the 1+1, right? The option for the second year, which it sounds like Mercedes wasn't even going to exercise. So that's the biggest shocker of this to me
Mm-hmm.
is that it sounds like Mercedes was just I don't want to say done, like they're just casting him off, but it sounds like they definitely have an eye towards the future and they want to start to develop something beyond Lewis. You already have
Mm-hmm.
Russell there, who I think they feel confident in. Um, but where they go from here, it just doesn't seem like they were interested in preserving that relationship, which is strange to me because it's not like any other driver. He has so many investments and things that are tied up with Mercedes. It's fascinating to me that he would be willing to just move on to a
Move.
totally different team.
Mm-hmm.
But from all reports, sounds like Ferrari is like, bring it on. Like, we want all of that. And we're going to support you. Where Mercedes has just
Hmm.
reached the end of their line with it.
Yeah.
And they think they're just going in a different direction. And I hope it works out for both of them, honestly. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be weird, though, because I don't know, like, who are you going to root for? Like, I've
I
been a
don't know.
Mercedes fan, but I'm only a Mercedes fan probably, honestly, because of Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's what got me into the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is my love for him and appreciation for what he's accomplished and how he drives. So to me, like my loyalty lies with him before it does with Mercedes. I know a lot of people will probably like diehards are probably thinking that I'm a fair weather fan, but I don't really give a shit. Like
I
I'll
mean,
be totally honest.
you're a
Yeah,
driver's fan. You're not a team fan
right.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's different than other sports. I mean, the drivers are the face of everything. That
Mm-hmm.
that is
And
what you become enamored with.
you only have two per team. It's not
Yeah,
like you have a team of 10 or 11 or 12 or 5 or
yeah.
a lot of other sports where there's a lot of different stars that make up the team.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's basically two guys and a couple people behind the scenes that are the
Mhm.
big names and big faces
Yeah.
in Formula One.
Sure. And like you alluded to earlier, you've seen a pattern historically. I think with the elite drivers that all either do want to or do end up driving for Ferrari. So I think
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton's never really hidden from that. Like he's admitted publicly that driving for Ferrari would be a dream. Like
Yeah.
who growing up in a racing circuit, especially where you're driving F1, doesn't think about putting on the red. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that to me is I get it. Like it's another chapter for him. It's another challenge, and I also think he probably saw something in that Mercedes car that doesn't jive well with him for the next
That's
2 years, right? Like,
that's what I want to see. I want to see testing is coming up, I think, in another week or two. We got
yeah.
3 4 weeks, well, a month till the first
Well,
race. I want to
and I think he
see
did.
what
Go ahead.
Mercedes comes out with for the first couple races, because
I
if it's not competitive at all, then I would say he knew ahead of time. right? And that
Yeah,
partially went into his decision. If they
yeah.
come out competitive and they come out really strong,
Hmm.
maybe he didn't know, and that wasn't part of his decision making process.
Sure, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
I think a lot of the speculation when the rumors first came out, not even the rumors, when it first came out that he was switching to Ferrari, I think a lot of people assumed that he had already gotten some experience with the new Mercedes and didn't like it. But it came out like he didn't even drive the simulator until the day after the news broke. So
Hmm.
this decision wasn't necessarily directly based on what he knew of the new car that's coming out this season. I
Right.
think it more had to do with Mercedes not placating to what he wants to do off the track, them wanting to go in a different direction, maybe to direct more towards the future of their team, and him just seeing it as an opportunity to go to a place that really, really wanted him at this
Hmm.
stage in his career, which I think holds a lot of value. And I think him and Leclerc, people think that won't work. I think it will. Like Leclerc, he's already
Yeah.
driven with Vettel, who was an established, great of the sport.
Hmm.
That relationship worked well. Science is a younger guy who, by all accounts, is fashions himself as talented as Leclerc, even though I think Leclerc is probably the second or third most talented driver on the grid. I think the relationship is good, and I think Leclerc knew about it months ago, it sounds like.
Hmm.
So I think he's already warmed up to it, and he's okay with it. I think they'll push themselves each other, and I think it'll be a really good working relationship. And they drive very similar. Like if you look
Yeah.
at it, like they really do
Hmm.
drive very similar, clean lines. Respect for their other drivers. Although Verstappen fans probably won't agree with that, but
Hmm.
among them. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be
I mean,
fascinating to see, man.
I, I would have rather have seen Leclerc and Hamilton with Mercedes, but I like
Well,
them as teammates. I think it'll
so
be
how
interesting.
how do you view it? Like when you got into the sport, were you a Mercedes fan first, or were you a Hamilton fan first?
When I got into the sport, I was just a speed and amazement of what these cars and technology and the science behind what they're doing
Yeah.
first. And
Okay.
then for me, it was just kind of the consistency of um, the older McLaren team with Nico
Hmm.
Rosberg and Hamilton, just super competitive, winning almost all the time. So
Yeah.
I was kind of more McLaren fans, and
Okay.
then Hamilton fan, and then Mercedes comes along, and then Mercedes and Hamilton, and I love Bottas too.
Yeah.
I really like Bottas
Yeah.
with
Me too.
Mercedes. I still like him now. He's just on a lower team, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
maybe he comes back.
so it's going to be weird for me, and I haven't been against Ferrari for years and years. It's just
Right.
they've always been like the enemy, right? Because they've always
Yeah.
been that second, third, or fourth best team every single year. So
Right.
they've always been a top competitor of either McLaren or Mercedes.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I I haven't really liked Ferrari ever. So it's going to be interesting
Yeah.
for me to root for Hamilton and Ferrari. I mean, I'm sure I will, but
Do you think that will change your fandom as a team goes? So, like, when the day comes that Hamilton moves on and retires, do you remain a Ferrari fan? Do you go
no,
back to Mercedes, or do you go
Mercedes.
wide open and
Back
go, I'll
to
just pick whoever I like?
Mercedes McLaren.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't it
yeah,
depend on who the drivers are, though? So, like, say Mercedes
somewhat.
drivers in 2 or 3 years are Sainz and Perez. Are you still a Mercedes fan?
I don't know.
See, I
I
think
don't.
so much is depend on the
Yeah,
drivers more than the team.
yeah. I mean, I'd like them to do well, but it also depends on the other drivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Russell or Norris end up in a
Hmm.
Ferrari, then I'm probably a Ferrari fan.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, and
I don't think Lando Norris is going anywhere for a
well,
while.
he's
But
already
then
pretty much
again,
locked up.
I I would have said that about Lewis Hamilton, the biggest name in the
3 days
game,
ago. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just
Yeah.
never know.
It's a seismic shift, and I don't know that the common U.S. sports fan would understand the magnitude of this move, but I'm telling you, for all the last 3 4 days, like top 10 in Twitter trending is
Hmm.
Hamilton
Yeah,
Ferrari or some
everywhere.
facsimile of that.
I don't remember this amount of news when like Messi switched teams, professional
No.
teams, or Ronaldo.
Now
You know,
maybe we don't follow those social medias that would
I mean,
would
I do
push
somewhat.
that.
I
You
follow
probably do.
a lot of
Yeah.
different soccer stuff. I mean, um, it was Messi who just took like 100 million a year or something contract to go
Right.
play for some Saudi Arabian team. And I think
Yeah.
Ronaldo followed him, or the other way around. They both got.
Well, isn't Messi playing in the U.S. now?
Yes, yes,
And that
yes.
was a
I'm
big deal
sorry.
because he
He went
he
to
took a lot of
Miami.
money, but
Yep,
what he was getting in endorsements
yep,
beyond
yep.
was like maximizing what he could, which is very similar to Hamilton. What they say?
And that
Ferrari's willing to
was
pay him $100 million a year.
yeah, and that was news for like a day, and then it kind of fizzled out and disappeared.
Yeah,
Right?
and they're both players at the same stage of their career too, right? Messi is on the back end of his
Mm-hmm.
career. Messi
Yeah,
hasn't said he's retiring, but we all assume he's probably
sure.
close to it.
Yeah.
Hamilton, yeah, he's 39. People assume not an old man by any stretch, but in terms of racing, it's
Mm-hmm.
older.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't show any signs of slowing down. So where I think he has more left in his career than Messi does.
Mm-hmm.
But it is weird because that news did, you know, flame up and then die out real
Yeah.
quick, at least from my perspective. Where
Now,
this Hamilton stuff is like it's still top
the
5 on Twitter.
the financial impact. So Messi goes to Miami, and
Mm-hmm.
in the real estate world that I was connected to at the time, I kind of had a heads up because some people that I was quasi partners with
Mm-hmm.
were working in the sports and entertainment real estate business, and had gotten a heads up that someone huge needed a
Okay.
place in Miami and basically had unlimited millions of dollars in budget. So I kind of saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I go on StubHub and I start looking up Miami FC, the soccer team's ticket prices, through the roof,
Yeah.
through the roof. Now,
Yep.
understandably so. We get word of this Hamilton move. I look
Mm-hmm.
up Ferrari stock,
Oh,
12% increase the day of the announcement.
a lot of variables, but that's a big percentage of it for sure.
Yeah,
And it
sure.
shows you the global power of this
Yeah.
individual. Like
Yep.
this guy is just different than almost anybody in any sport. Like
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that comes with him, and look, we could all be like, look, Ferrari's noble because they want to prop up Hamilton for all the extracurricular endeavors that he's into, charity,
Mm-hmm.
giving opportunity to people less fortunate or from poorer areas. Like
But
Ferrari knows they can make money on this. Like, let's not act like they're good Samaritans. They're doing
right.
it because they can cash in on the Hamilton brand,
Oh,
and they're
of
willing to
course.
do it.
Of course.
But it works for both, right? So if they continue to allow Hamilton to do what he does, which and reach a lot of different people, and give people less fortunate than he is now, or people who are in situations similar to how he grew up, he's giving them opportunities, which is more than any other driver on the circuit's doing, by the way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what people don't get to. Like, Verstappen can win the next 4 championships. He's never going to be a global guy. He's never going to be a guy they make movies about. He's not going to have documentaries about him. Hamilton is a global star. Like, it's just a different breed of athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why Ferrari is all in on it. And
Yeah,
it makes sense because I don't think he's close to
I agree.
retiring either.
Yep. The
If they give him a competitive car, he's gonna rip, man. He's gonna
mm-hmm.
rip. I'm fully confident in that.
It's gonna be interesting to see the difference between Leclerc and Hamilton in the same car,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's Verstappen's been winning the Red Bull car is amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
Verstappen's been a great, amazing driver the last couple of years.
Yeah,
But I would love to see a handful of drivers in the exact same car and see what
yeah,
happens. I
yeah.
still think I think I've said it on a previous episode. I'd love to see one or two, maybe two or three races throughout the year
Mm-hmm.
where every driver is put in the exact same spec and build
I
car,
know, I know.
and just see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
That
and
would
it's
be
unfortunate
interesting.
you're not going to see it, but it
Hmm.
would be interesting to see. But I would say, like, in
Even
terms of,
even as
go
like
ahead.
an all-star game, just do it once,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, there should be
right?
some
For
kind of
no
like
for no
expo or
points or
something.
something, just for fun.
No one would want to expose themselves to that, though. Like,
Yeah,
you think Christian
I
Horner is going to
guess.
want to expose himself to like Hamilton beating his own guy in his own car? Like,
I guess so.
that's not going to happen. But I do think it's interesting, and I think I would say that the top four most talented drivers on the grid are Hamilton, not in any particular order, Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, and Verstappen.
Agreed.
That's who I would say are the four. And Sainz to me is like
He's
fifth,
close.
sixth,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
he's close.
And I feel bad for him, dude. I really do. And I know that people have speculations that he's going to end up with Audi because his father has power on that team. I don't know that that's a guarantee because I don't think people are like, well, Sainz is still young, so why not go to Audi and kind of build that team? Because what is he,
That's
26? I want to win a freaking championship. I don't want to sit for 3 years
yeah.
and try to build an Audi team to the point where I still, in 3 years, do I know it's going to be competitive enough to win a constructors championship?
Yeah,
If I'm Sainz, I'm on the phone with Mercedes tonight.
that's still 3 seasons from now, right?
Right.
That's not till
Does he want to do that?
2026. So we still
I
got
mean,
this year, next year, and then
yeah,
Audi.
yeah,
So what's he doing next year? He doesn't have a seat.
exactly. So that leads us to who you think, and after this year, it is Bedlam who's available in terms of
Yeah.
drivers for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you see? We should do this. We should put this down. Who our drivers are that we think will replace Hamilton for Mercedes in 2025?
Mm-hmm.
Have you given it much thought?
A little, not much, but a little. I'm gonna give 2 choices.
Okay, just two. Okay.
2 possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the obvious, somewhat obvious, Mick Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna give him, he's been the reserve driver. They're gonna bring him back and see what he can do, at least for a couple races. Maybe
Okay.
half a season or something. And if he's as terrible as he was with Williams, then it's him and not the car. Right? He's
Right.
just not ready, or he'll never be ready
Yeah.
for Formula One.
He was Haas, not Williams, but yeah.
Okay, same difference. Poop.
Yeah.
Poop.
Haas is worse, actually.
Right. 16th through 20th.
Yes.
Okay,
that's
so
interesting.
I'm going Mick Schumacher or Bottas.
See,
Bottas is
my
back.
initial reaction, well, my gut reaction when I first heard this, in the first minute I thought about who would replace him, my reaction was they're going to go after Alonso because it fits the mold of what Hamilton was. He's not in a place where he's not going to be a pushover, but he's also not going to fuck too much shit up with Russell. As you saw, like even the way he handled Stroll, he's clearly a better driver than Stroll, but he played the team game there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alonso's in a different part of his life now where he feels like he can be competitive but also be like a mentor. So I think that makes kind of sense. But I can see them going other ways too because Toto Wolff made a statement that he sees this as an opportunity to be bold with the next direction they go. What does that mean? That you can interpret it a lot of different ways, right? I think the boldest thing they can do is go with that Antonelli kid that is their driver of the future who they bypassed. He's not even racing F3. They're skipping him right to F2. And I heard this past week or within the last 2 weeks, he raced for the first time with a bunch of F2 drivers, but on an F3 grid or something like that. I forget what it was. And they had to race in wets, and he was the youngest driver by far. And they said, quote, seconds ahead of everyone on the grid.
Wow.
Like this kid is supposed to be, his name is Kimi Antonelli. He's probably the most revered driver since Verstappen. Like he's there's a lot of parallels to how dominant this kid is.
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to turn 18 in August, I think. So that would be a big move. It's a gamble, but I think they view him as the future of the team more so than they view Russell as that future. But do you bring in a young kid like that next to a Russell? Is that going to cause too much controversy, or is it the direction you have to go if you want to establish yourselves as a team of the future? You're going to have to find a driver that's number one, and nobody's sure Russell is that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Are you?
No, not
I mean,
anymore.
He's inconsistent.
Not without Hamilton's support.
Yeah.
Or teaching, tutelage, on track,
Has
off
he
track.
earned preferential treatment at this point in his career?
Competitiveness, someone, I have to beat my teammate. I have to beat my teammate.
Yeah.
And it's your teammate's friggin' Lewis Hamilton, the best ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know.
It's gonna be fascinating. I think your boy Albon is an option.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like
I wouldn't mind that.
yeah, I mean, and it sounds like he's putting they say that his agent is like leaking stuff about how he's in negotiations with Red Bull to take the seat from Perez after this year. But they also say that's a lot of posturing because they want to put pressure on Mercedes to take him.
Mm.
So that would be an interesting one, though I don't call it bold. That's not a bold move for me. Albon
No,
seems safe. It seems
no.
like a safe move.
Yeah. I don't think Alonso will be around in another year or two.
But that would buy you that time to wait for Antonelli. If you don't feel like Antonelli's ready 2025 and 26 is going to be his year, then Alonso's the perfect guy because you just take
Yeah.
him for a year, two
Yeah.
max,
Or
and you
Bottas.
move on. Then that's the other reason I
Bring
said,
Bottas back.
yep,
He already knows everybody. He knows the team. He knows the
uh-huh.
structure. He knows the behind the scenes crap.
He'll be competitive,
Mm-hmm.
and he won't rub Russell the wrong way. It'll be a good working relationship. He worked with Hamilton. That was probably Hamilton's best teammate was Bottas because of his professionalism and just ability to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
But on a team with Russell, he might not have to play second fiddle as often as he did with Hamilton.
Right.
Oh shit, your cat.
Yeah. Oh, you can
Cat's
hear
got
that?
something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could
I
being
mean,
bold for Bottas, could that be something?
I don't see Bottas as bold. I see it as safe.
Yeah,
I
it
see
just
that's a
starts with a
safe one.
B. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Ocon's
Going.
an option, but I don't see Ocon and Russell getting along very well because Ocon doesn't
No.
seem to get along with anybody very
No.
well.
Yeah, I don't like that.
They'll be.
I don't like that.
I think Ricardo's not going anywhere. I'm pretty certain Red Bull's
Yeah.
going Ricardo to replace Perez. It sounds like that's
That would be
what they want.
cool. I would like
Yeah,
that.
but we like Ricardo.
But
We
then
don't
he's
like
going to be
Red
stuck
Bull.
behind Verstappen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean,
this shit is.
Ricardo to Mercedes. That'd be pretty bold.
It would, but I think Red Bull has their tentacles stuck in him. I think they fully view him as the guy who's once Perez is done, which they want it to be probably after this season. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to just be passed to Ricardo. That's the feeling I'm getting.
Well, they
But
let
they
him
also
go
don't.
once.
Yeah, but that was at a time where he was really still viewing himself as a title contender, a
Mm-hmm.
constructors champion, and I don't think he's that anymore. I mean, maybe with Red Bull he could be, but he's not because Verstappen's there. So
Yeah.
I think he's at a different place in his career where it fits better than it did back then. Because back then he's like, "Fuck Verstappen, I'm as good as him. Like I'll beat him."
Mm-hmm.
And he did beat him a lot of times early on in their career. That Monaco race he had was tremendous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, and I don't see like Piastri. I know Piastri's locked up. Sargent is available. I don't think he's going anywhere.
No.
I don't think they view him as good enough. I don't know. I think it's between Alonso. I still think Sainz. I still think they might look at Sainz.
Yeah.
And to me, it makes too much sense.
Even
I
just-
really personally.
Even just for the year, just for 2025, and then Sainz disappears and goes off to Audi.
I mean,
That's a possibility.
you probably
Possibility
know
stays
already.
with. He could stay with Mercedes too and not go to Audi. So who knows?
It just depends on what you want to do. If you're Mercedes, do you want to have two young drivers where you kind of let them battle it out to see who gets preferential treatment, or do you want to bring in a guy where you know clearly who gets preferential treatment?
That's kind of what they did with. Well, that's kind of what McLaren did with Hamilton and Rosberg a while back.
Yeah.
Right, and turned into multiple championships in a row between Rosberg and Hamilton, and
albeit very tumultuous.
Yes.
Tenure together.
Yes.
For the 2 or 3 years that it was. Yeah. Has anyone heard from Rosberg, by the way? The guy's opinion on everything, and I haven't heard boo from him about this.
I don't know. I don't follow him on anything, but that's true. I haven't
seen a single thing. I'd be curious to see honestly, couldn't that guy come back and race? Does he look like he can't race?
Probably.
Anymore? He's probably. Is he the same age as Hamilton?
Yeah, I think so. I think he retired early.
Can you imagine that?
Kind of had enough.
Imagine Rosberg says, "I'm coming back."
I don't know about that.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome though. I'd be for it. I'd be all for it.
That'd be interesting. See
Yeah,
how much
I don't know.
animosity still holds against Hamilton and people and things like that.
Hamilton's gone.
He always seems cool. Well, I mean, he'd still be on the grid.
True.
Still be on the track.
Yeah. And to me, just the whole thing.
I think Michael Schumacher's coming back.
I don't think so. Interesting though that you thought that Mick Schumacher would be a guy that could take the seat. And I mean, it crossed my mind. I just don't think that he's established himself enough for them to say like, "Yup, this is the
He's
guy
got
we want to pair."
you got a whole nother year. You got this whole season, so if he can
But it's
perform
not like
and
he's going to have an
show
opportunity
stuff,
to
and
drive.
I mean,
When's he going to
in a
drive? This
simulator
is
testing,
yeah,
right? Give them in practice, right? They take
yeah.
turns a couple times throughout the year with rookies and reserve drivers in practice, see what happens. He
It's
could
possible.
be showing promising signs in a simulator
Yeah,
for all we know.
yeah.
But I
I
just
mean, but
go ahead.
yeah, even just mentioning the Schumacher name, Schumacher is one of Hamilton's, icons. He's been close with the family forever.
Hmm.
Schumacher raced for Ferrari, so like obviously, it's not that far stretched to think that Hamilton would be all in on a Ferrari race, right? Like
Hmm.
it seems shocking, but it's really not. Like almost every great has driven for Ferrari at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think it would have happened if Mercedes was more willing to play ball with Hamilton for all his other endeavors that go beyond the racetrack. I
Hmm.
think he's still with Mercedes, but it just seems like,
Yeah.
which is what's shocking to me. I never thought,
I mean, if
I thought they were so intertwined that
let's
it just was inseparable.
let's say you win you win two World Series and you're on San Francisco Giants, and all of a sudden the Mets come to you and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, do you want to come play for the Mets? What are
Really
you
more like the
doing?"
Yankees, but yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You personally, Mets,
Personally, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. For me, Yankees, Rangers, right? I don't
right.
I don't care what team I'm on. How
It's an
many
original six, essentially.
championships, how many cups, whatever,
Yeah.
right? I want to play for my childhood dream team.
And like I said, in hockey, it's the dream of playing for an original six franchise, right? Well, in motorsports, it's the dream of racing for Ferrari. Like, it's
Hmm.
just say what you want. That is the most prestigious, most well known team that has existed. And he's alluded to it before. And it sounds like you remember last year when all this stuff came out around the time Monaco was happening. There was all the rumors that, like, oh, was
Hmm.
Hamilton thinking about leaving? And we all just laughed at it. Like, this is like
Yeah.
tabloid shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounds like that was legit, and that's around the time when Leclerc and
Could have been in the
Sainz both knew
works.
like this shit's happening.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's dude, it's fucking
Yeah,
wild.
it's starting to grow on me. I was not happy at all at first
No,
for hours, if not a day. But
well, do you remember
it's
my response when you texted me? It was just laughing. I was
yeah,
like, oh, that's funny, but then you're like, no, dude, I
it
think it's serious,
yeah,
and I
it's
was
for
like,
real.
what?
Yeah, it like I saw it pop up early in the morning
Yeah,
on Instagram, and then I actually jumped into some news articles and went back and forth between a couple sites to try
yep,
and see, is this for real? Is this just a rumor that's just popping up on one thing, or is this
yep.
like in the works and going to happen? And it was in the works, going to happen, and officially announced later in the day. Yeah, I didn't believe it at
Absolutely wild.
first.
I'm
Just,
trying to think of like what I can equate it to in my lifetime. I think the closest thing I can think of is like LeBron when he left Cleveland to go to the Heat,
mhm.
albeit he was in his absolute prime at that point. But it was such a seismic shift, right? And
And it was,
Brady
well,
maybe leaving the Patriots for
wasn't that
Tampa.
LeBron and multiple players that were all going to the
Well,
Heat at
yeah,
once?
yeah, Bosch, and he was going to the Heat, who already had um,
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
So it was
So it was like a
Wade,
dream
but then
team in the
Bosch.
making. Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
first of that like mega, like the three stars that all joined up together.
Hmm.
That was, and that still is like a thing in the NBA, but it wasn't until then. So that's, yeah, when you think about like seismic shifts, like that's what this is. It's Brady leaving the Patriots to go to
Hmm.
play Tampa, and Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa.
Hmm.
So can Hamilton follow suit and bring a championship? Let's not forget, Hamilton's racing for Mercedes this year. Like,
Yeah.
how freaking cool
Yeah.
would it be
That's
if he won the constructors this year?
I'm more shocked that it's a done deal and it's announced now
Mm-hmm.
before the season has even started. Like
Yeah,
all of this shit could have been done behind the scenes and kept hush hush until mid-season or a quarter of the way or three-quarters of the way
yeah,
through the season. So that was one of the big reasons I just thought it was all rumors and I didn't even
right.
think it was going to be true. Right? Why
Yeah.
why announce it now? Why now?
Why now?
Before
Out
the
of
season's
nowhere.
even started. It would
But it happens a lot in this sport.
be incredible. It happens a lot in Formula One where it's just out of nowhere. You just never know what the hell is
And
coming
guys
sometimes.
consistently are racing for teams where we all know they have a
Their
year
their
and
contract's
then they're
up,
done.
yeah,
Vettel did it.
or they're signed with another team or whatever. Yep.
Do you think you have any concerns over Hamilton dogging it or not giving a shit? Because I do not. I
No,
think that dude is going to
no,
go just as hard as ever.
yeah, and I mean, I hope the car is, competitive and super competitive, where it gives them a shot at a
Yeah.
championship.
Yep.
That would make 2025 that much more interesting, right? You're
Well, is it 2025 or 26 where the regulations change again?
26.
26. So yeah, he would
Yes,
get a year under his belt with Ferrari before.
correct.
That's important.
Yeah,
That's very important.
and then everything changes. But
Yeah,
he'll also be there for a year to help them develop the car.
exactly.
Even though these 2026 cars have been in development already, he can still work
Right.
behind the scenes with them.
He has time. He doesn't have to just
Yeah.
jump into a new car with new regulations,
Hmm.
and a new team. That would be a lot. So he gets that
Yeah.
year buffer, which I think was strategic on his part,
Hmm.
and on Ferrari's part. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to expect for this season.
Going to be an
I'm
interesting
expecting
couple of
Hamilton.
years.
Yeah, for sure. I'm expecting Hamilton to bring his best, and man, oh man, it would be perfect if he won his eighth with Mercedes in his final year.
Oh
Because
yeah.
then, to me, the move to Ferrari has zero pressure.
Hmm.
Zero pressure. He could just go there. He's got his eighth. Go there
Yep.
and do what you can. Maybe get your ninth. It'd be perfect fairy tale ending to go out
Hmm.
with Mercedes with an eighth championship. That would be. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it
Yeah.
would be perfect
Well,
for a guy of his status.
never know. Never know.
Never know. Yeah, it'll be fun to see though, man. We got
Yep.
what, a month to go before
Yeah.
first
March
race.
March 2nd, I think, is first race of the season.
Oh man, I can't. It's funny. The day before this Hamilton announcement came out, remember I texted you and I said I'm just itching for F1, and
Yeah.
then this news
Yep.
broke, and
And
it was
then
like perfect
huge
timing.
news. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's I mean, it's going to make the races a little bit more exciting, I think, too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
have an extra bit of drama off the track.
Big time.
What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen the following year? It's going to
And
be
so much change is going to happen after this year because of how
yeah,
many drivers are
out of
available.
contract and stuff. Yep. Yep.
It's going to be it's going to be bedlam. It really is. And some of these guys will probably find themselves outside of the sport because there's
Hmm.
going to be an influx of a couple new guys,
Yeah.
and you're going to have a new team. So it's going to be really interesting, man. But
Yep.
I think it's good for the sport. That's the biggest thing from this. I think it's really good for the sport.
Hmm.
I don't see any negative coming from it.
Last thing before we wrap up. I don't know if you saw this. I thought I saw something in the works for a race in Chicago.
Yes, I saw that, and I saw one in Africa somewhere,
Uh-huh. I think I saw that too.
which Hamilton said he didn't want to retire until they had a race in. I think he said South Africa, but I don't
Hmm.
remember where. It's an old. It used to be a circuit in Africa,
Yeah.
and that's the one that they're bringing
Hmm.
back. But yeah,
I
the
forget the city, but yeah.
Chicago would be freaking crazy, man.
I mean, that would be Miami, Texas, Vegas, and
Yep.
Chicago.
And then I'd be willing to
We need
bet
New
New York
York.
comes within 10
We need
years.
New York. I mean, we could
It
walk there.
belongs. How do other cities deal with it? Like they're all worried, like, oh, you can't interrupt like the traffic flow and mass transportation. Monaco doesn't have to worry about that.
Well,
Like
I mean,
every city has
that's
to deal with that
so
to a degree.
historic. They're used to it. They just shut down everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, New York hosted a Super Bowl. You can't host an F1 race. Like,
It's a
get
little
it
bit
done.
different. I mean, you get miles and miles of road shut down.
Yeah, but you get more shut down than you think for a Super Bowl because you need like certain
I,
traffic patterns open for travel. You
I'll
need
tell you what,
hotels and all
though,
that.
with the way these cities across the country are looking and falling
Hmm.
apart, unfortunately, I don't know if I'd want to go to New York for a F1 race. Maybe get on a skyscraper at Hoboken or something and watch.
Yeah, they'll probably build like 50-foot black walls so that if you
Oh,
got to
yeah.
the top of that skyscraper,
Yeah.
you can't see shit.
Yep.
That's what they'll do. I mean, I just want it because it's so close to give me the option to at least be
Yeah.
near it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we'd be there. Yeah.
yeah, maybe not paying full price for the ticket, but we'd be there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one day. But yeah, no, this shit is crazy.
Yep.
I am fired up now more than I was 2 weeks ago or
For
2 days
sure.
ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I really almost just want to fast forward to 25 to see what this is going to look like.
Yeah. Just get
'Cause
this season over with.
Yep.
right? I'd almost concede to Red Bull and give them another championship just to start the 2025 season
Yeah, I know.
and see what
I know.
happens.
I really want somebody to just bring it to them. Just make it hard for them this year. That's all. Just somebody make
Yeah,
it hard for them.
yeah.
I don't even care who it is. I really don't care who it is. I'd love it to be Mercedes, but somebody just take some races from this team.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if it's Ferrari, I'll feel great too. Although I
Oh
know
yeah.
the car is going to be
I
different
mean,
for 25, but still
Hamilton
for
will
26.
look like a genius then if
Oh yeah,
Ferrari comes out like gangbusters.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I think I think there's a lot of teams that are all going to do well. You know, Mercedes was looking okay, but kind of falling behind. Ferrari was definitely getting better. McLaren was
McLaren
definitely
had a
getting better.
strong second half.
So
Yeah,
it's really, are they going to be competitive with Red Bull? But
that's what it is.
I think it'll
Everybody
be
has to take a
close.
chink out of that armor.
I think it'll be close. Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, hopefully Mercedes for this year.
Maybe Aston Martin. Maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're doing better, but just seemed like they were
Yeah,
always, fifth through 10th.
yeah. And then it's just discouraging when you're talking about a 1 to 2 second gap
Hmm.
between Red Bull and everybody else.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
it's light years in this sport. It's,
yeah, it's a tall order for at least this year. Going into 26, where everything changes, that's where you can kind of maybe wipe the slate clean. But
hmm
this year might be another sludge through the mud. But
And
I'm hoping that something happens.
it's been three in a row for Red Bull, right? The last 3 years.
Yeah, call it two.
Yeah, two and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, these things tend to come in fours too. Teams
yeah,
and drivers seem to win once they're on a hot streak. They seem to win four straight.
yeah.
So we'll see what
Well,
happens.
that's the thing too. Like Red Bull's going to win this year. We know it. The only question is, can a handful of teams win some races? You know, like last
Hmm.
year we saw Ferrari was the only other team to win a race, and they won a race.
Yeah.
Can we see a combination of maybe 2 or 3 teams win 5 or 6 races next year? That would be great.
Teams have two drivers. I still don't understand why one driver just doesn't go out there and take somebody out. Just go out there and
I
take
know we've
out
said that before.
Verstappen. I mean, you
I
still
know.
got one driver in the
Still gonna.
race,
I know.
especially if both your cars are competitive. Just
Because it's not racing honest, man. You
get
got, you
one
want to
guy
beat
out
somebody, you
there,
want to beat them.
take one
I
for
don't
the
want to beat
team.
them on a technical. Yeah, yeah.
No,
You would do that. You'd be the guy.
no, I'd be the guy that talks my teammate into doing it for me.
Yeah. And then you'd be the one, and through goes the race
Uh-huh.
car.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd
Yep.
be you. Yeah. Oh man, shit.
Yeah.
If people aren't into F1 yet, get into it, man, because this
Oh
shit
yeah.
is great. It's so
Yeah.
good. There's so much drama. It's like there's so much that goes into it. Oh my god, I can't even explain to people. People are like, "How do you like that?" Like I got Palco. He's like, "Oh, it's a
Hmm.
redneck sport." I'm like, "Dude, it's nothing like
Not
NASCAR.
at
It's not
all.
even. It's not the same sport.
No
It's
way.
not even the same sport."
Uh-uh.
People just don't get it, but it's massively popular.
Yep.
Just look at Twitter trending topics, and it's there, man. It's
Yeah.
shit's gonna be fun. Can't
Yep.
wait.
Cannot wait. All right.
Yep.
We're gonna wrap it
Anything
up.
else?
Nope.
Wrap it up.
All right.
Another good one.
Yep.
People
Hamilton
leave your
to
comments. Let
Ferrari.
us know. Yep. Let us know
As
what you think. Who you think will be replacing Hamilton. Who you
hmm
want to see replace Hamilton. And as always, like and subscribe and do all that bullshit.
Are you sad? Are you mad? Are you upset? How do you
Yeah.
feel? Let us
Yep.
know.
Do you not give a shit? Let us know.
Yeah. Yep. If you made it this far into the
Yeah.
episode, let us know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be appreciated.
All right.
All right, man.
Deuces.
Yup.